Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 9x90. Today, we have a very, very special guest. We have Ne Lwin with us. For those of you who do not know him, he is Henley-certified multilingual family office expert with a background in private equity and alternative investments, advising on complex cross-border structuring and multigenerational wealth strategies. He led a $19.6 billion pound investment pipeline across real estate, tech, media, and logistics, spanning both private and public markets. And he founded a 60-member global strategy network, including leaders from JP Morgan, Deloitte, and BlackRock, focused on strategic growth and next-gen capital deployment. Ladies and gents, we have a total titan with us today.
Thank you so much, Adi. I'm grateful to be on this podcast and to share what I know as a next gen and my experience in this family office space.
Good.
Yeah.
So your global strategy sponsor network spans family offices and institutions.
Yes.
How do you facilitate collaboration, and what value does that community unlock?
So basically, when I like being a second gen, right, it was easier to open doors to these networks. And like when I came to the UK, I started building my network throughout my MBA, and then like through the different jobs that I had, like one was SBN, which is funded by the British and Scottish government. Another one was a placement agent. Another one was a merchant bank. I was a family office director there. So like all these jobs, I was able to accumulate these group of network. And I was like, oh, okay, like I need to do something with this, because I was meeting a lot of family offices and allocators. And I started like compiling them together because I always had good deal flows, and being on the buy side, people were pitching to me, right? So I had to be like, I was like, okay, like what do I do with this? So I correlated it together. It's basically like connecting the dots and seeing what I can do with it, because my main passion is my whole life was I was supposed to take over my family business and then the family office. I never thought I would be involved with other family offices as much, right? I was like, okay, focus on what you do, what you know, because and do that. But then I had to reframe that when I moved to the UK, and then meeting all these other families. I can be like, I saw the gap that I could fill, which was like helping with next gen, because I've lived in experience, plus having like a family office certification. I was able to give knowledge based on what I know, but plus be empathetic of their situation as well. And I'm sure you know the $84 trillion wealth transfer, right, to the age group of people who are 20 to 43. And I also see that being an advisor, like a lot of the next gen, 8 out of 10 of them don't take the parent's advisor. 8 out of 10. So like they don't want the 60-year-old advisor. I'm sure you're the same as well. Yeah, we don't want the 50, 60-year-old advisors. So they look for 30, 40-year-old advisors who can help with their deployment and capital allocation strategies. And also another thing is that 32% of next gen don't have financial literacy. Like I have a lot of friends. I'm sure, Adi, you're nodding your head so much.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking like how many of my friends from the next gen call me up and they're like, hey, what's happening with the real estate market? And I'm like, which one? Which asset class? Which country? And they're like, that thing called the real estate market, like the whole real estate market. I'll start a fund and you guys can just invest in it. And I have a chief investment officer who will keep tabs on everything. Like, let's just do that. Low risk. Yeah. But yeah, no, I get it. So you're doing the same thing for all of your friends.
Yeah, it's basically like I see these stories, right? Like one story that popped out to me was, like, I think I told you about it when we met as well. But this 22-year-old girl in Dubai was charged $500,000 for a pitch deck and a data room.
No.
Yeah, and this is one of the big accounting firms as well. It's crazy, because she's worth like multi-billion, so it doesn't matter to her. It's like, oh, 500,000, it's a good deal. It's a lot of unethical behavior. Even like my best friend, who's inheriting a $1 billion pharmaceutical company in Vietnam, she works as a makeup artist. Like, she's following her dreams. It's stuff like that, right? It's you can see a lot of gaps of like these parents love their children, and some of them, like, especially who are like first to second, transferring from first to second gen, they don't know what they're doing, like,
Yeah.
like you're
No,
fifth.
that's true. That's true. Yeah. So in my family, it was very unconventional, the way that they set everything up to do the training and apprenticeship and succession planning. But a lot of families don't do that. And that's why they only have 1 or 2 generations before it's nothing. And we have 5 generations. I mean, I did go off and do my own thing for a little while. I built a software company. I worked with Apple. I worked with Porsche, Whole Foods, Target, Disney, and a bunch of other companies around the world. So I did do my little like rebellious phase of like not being in real estate. But now it's time for me to go circle back into real estate. And I have been working with one of my mother's companies since 2014, intermittently though, just as an advisor. But I get it. I get everything you're saying about like the one girl that was charged $500,000 for the pitch deck. I was quoted by this one attorney that it'd be $100,000 for him to start working with me.
Just to start. Like nothing. Oh wow.
And then my friend spoke to the same attorney and he quoted her $15,000.
Wow.
I was invited to a closed group event and I was told that the tickets were $180. And then everyone else was told that it was a free event.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was just like, you gotta be joking. So, I mean, it does, you don't want to use your family name everywhere. It's nice to go places like we were talking about before. It's nice to go and be able to go to certain countries where you get to be a no one and you get to be just like a normal person. And then, but then it's also nice to be able to choose when you go back, when you step back into that high profile, high pressure role where you're expected to be like a fearless leader, even though you're the youngest person in the room by like decades, simply because you've been attending the board meetings with your parents since you were 8 or 9 years old. Yeah. So, excuse me. It sounds like we have a lot of similarities with the way we're trying to take care of our friends as they're figuring out the ropes and their own succession plans. And so I'm realizing now why we connected so well is we're basically doing the same thing. For my friends here in the US, I'm trying to explain to them how to make this transfer smooth. And you're doing the same thing with your friends, not only in Asia, but also across Europe and the US.
It's so true. It's because Asian families, right? Most of the Asian families are transitioning from first to second generation because Asian wealth is built recently, right? And then I look at the statistics, and I think if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but around 45% don't have a proper transition plan. 45%.
No, they have a transition plan.
Yeah. It's.
I met this one wealth advisor, and he was so impressed with himself because he came up with this strategy where like the next generation could basically just drain away all the wealth that the previous generation had built, and then the third generation would start with nothing. And it was like, why are you impressed by that? Like, the greatest thing you can teach someone is how to create economic value.
Yeah.
The greatest thing you can teach them. Like, if you love someone, you're going to teach them how to create economic value.
Yes.
If you don't love someone, that's when you're going to keep them in the dark. That's when you're going to say, oh, here's $1. Let me give you a fish. I don't want to teach you how to fish. The most loving thing you could do for someone is teach them how to fish.
That's so true. I can't emphasize that enough because it's like a lot of these kids who are inheriting as well, they care. They're good people. Like, there's a saying, like, there are the spoiled ones there, but a lot of them do care and want to make a difference and all this. They just don't know how properly. Yeah.
No, I was speaking with someone the other day and they were like, listen, my passion is art. I want to invest in art. I was like, your passion's art? I said, yes. I said, why don't you go buy a bunch of buildings in a downtown area, and then you pay some of the top artists in the country to go and paint murals on the sides of those buildings.
Mm-hmm.
You bought office space that's giving you rental income, and you're funding your passion for art with real assets.
It's
Like
amazing.
rather than just saying, "Oh yeah, go buy some art and sit on it and then spend every day partying until you're dead and from liver failure." Like no, teach them, "Okay, let's look at buying some office buildings. Make it into an art exhibit in the lobby." Like how many times have you walked into a class A, like a high luxury office building and they have artwork all over the first floor because the owner of the building loves art. So they've supported artists, but they didn't run themselves into the ground financially. They're making money from the building.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's so true. It's very intriguing how you see all these people on their journeys. Like we could go on and on about this about people, but right, like during COVID, there's a family that I know from a network. They own 7 5-star hotels in the U.S. actually, and during COVID, all the older members of the family passed away, and he's 26.
Oh my God.
Like this kid's gonna be targeted like crazy, like
That's bad. That's
yeah.
anytime one of the elders in my family is sick, we go dark, we go silent, we don't tell anyone because vultures want to come in and rip any assets they can. So we
Yeah.
immediately have to go into succession planning, getting everything buttoned up, getting all of the assets protected. Because when you see assets lost by a family, it's typically one of the advisors who sat quietly on the sidelines serving the older generation, waiting for them to pass on so they could steal it from the next generation. That's a really common one. So wow, how's your friend doing?
It's not my friend. It's one of the groups I'm a part of. So he's one of the members of that group. So it's my friend's friend, but I don't know. Like I'm dearly worried, but like it's like you know, it, it's his situation. I want to help, and I'm like, I'm there if I help, but I don't want to seem so eager. Do you get me? Because I don't need anything from this kid, right? And I don't know this kid, but it's just like I heard this, and I'm like, oh wow, like, and it was in one of the Zoom calls as well. And we're like, how are we gonna do to help this kid? And we're like, we can give him advice, but at the end of the day, like, how strong is his trust and the structure that's protecting him? Because
Be his
yeah,
friend. Just be his friend. I
yeah.
had an international smear campaign last year. People thought they could take my black book and then ruin my reputation, and they would like have themselves elevated. All
Mm,
they did with the smear campaign is they helped me to realize who all the dumb, unsuccessful, fake friends were. So they freed me of that. What was left afterwards was all the ultra successful, highly intelligent, very successful family office patriarchs. I was like, you
mm,
realize you helped me to
yeah,
figure out who the best people were to be in the room
yeah.
with your friend. And then after that, I would tell people, they were like, what's the most valuable asset? Because I get asked that question. Like, it's loyal friendship. It's not time. You can buy time. You can buy time by outsourcing. It's loyal friendship. That's the one thing you cannot buy. It is the
Mm,
one asset you can't buy. And it's the
yeah.
only asset that gets you through hard times.
Yeah. One of my mentors told me as well. It's like, what do you like? Do you see success in the eyes of yourself or in the success in the eyes of others? And I didn't blink. I said the success in the eyes of others because great leaders see success in the eyes of. I wanted my friends to succeed more than myself because I knew that I was equipped to, do decently well in life, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's how that's why he said I'm going to be very, very successful. And like all these things, right? And it's like I've had a lot of mentors, like you talk about your mentors like Paul Hutchinson and all these others, and it's like I've had really great mentors as well who's given me these one-liners that has stuck with me. And like great leader sees in the eyes of others, like the best relationships have to fit like a glove, you know yeah, like from the start, it has to fit like a glove from the start. Like also another thing was like I was born with a hole in my heart, so my mom had 2 miscarriages before me, so I would get sick every 2 3 years for no reason. And one of my mentors when I was interning like 10 years ago, he said, you have something special that I didn't realize until I was in my 50s. He owns around like 30 public and private schools back home, and he was like in his late 50s, and he was chasing money, and he had his first medical situation, and he's like he took a turn. Like he literally like reflected and he's like, okay, what's really important? And then for me, like every 3-4 years, I would get sick for no reason. I don't have any diseases. I'm fully healthy, but my resistance is weak to like COVID or whatever it is that's, it's coming. And I would be like in this hospital for like 2-3 days, and I'd get better right away. But then I was like, I got to like reflect, and I'm like, oh, because I thought I was gonna die,
Yeah.
So I was like, and then I realized, okay, like it's okay. I'm okay, and then I know what's important. I know what I have to do. I know my purpose. And then it took him like what in his late 50s to realize. And for me, I realized it when I was in my early 20s. Now I'm in my 30s. I'm like, every day I know what I have to do, who I have to call, what is important to me. It just like, aligns your priorities. And I think that's the most important thing, in life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's circle back to your family office. What was your family's first franchise? You shared this with me before the episode, and I feel like it's so cool. You need to repeat it now.
Yeah. So we started with Shiseido.
Why are you laughing? It's awesome. I
Also,
love
yeah, that's why we don't. That's why I told you I wasn't gonna age, because we started with
that.
like
Yes, we were joking. We were joking
right.
that neither of us will age because I have the Russian genes, so we don't age till like 50 or 60, and then suddenly we age like 3 decades in like a year. And he has the Asian genes, so again, does not age.
Plus, like my mom would be like, if I had a pimple, it'd be like, put this on, like I was like, my hygiene and skincare was like on point since I was very young. So like,
Oh, yeah.
I had to be, because I was representing a brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we started with this franchise. We moved into logistics, retail, and obviously real estate, right? This is how my family grew their wealth. And then obviously my uncle as well, he built franchises like Sony, LG, and then like he grew his empire. My family grew my empire. And it's really amazing to see them from like 1 to 10 to 100 million, because I'm second gen, right? And it's like, wow. Yeah. I always thought it was also, there's a bit like unfairness too, where like, the son and daughter are treated differently, because in Asia, right, like you treat the son like shit so that he works hard and works really hard. But like, so basically, like when I was like, what, 12 or 13, when my sister was 12 or 13, it was completely different. My sisters would be getting like $7,000-8,000 bags. I'd be getting $100 a week, and I would be like, what is this scam? Like, they wanted my, obviously, to attract like very eligible suitors, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was learning, all these different dynamics. And for me as well, like they shipped me off when I was what, 9 years old, like, so I grew up alone. So like I saw my family 4 or 5 times a year for holidays, but I grew up with maids. So like I always tell them, I raised myself, you didn't raise me.
Oh my God.
Because they were workaholics building their empire, right? And then also another thing was, when I don't listen to them, this is so funny, but I'm like, I listen to people who are richer than you because I want to be richer than you. I'm so good at I'm good at my comebacks to my parents. I love them to death. My parents are everything to me. Like they really are. I would not be here if it wasn't for them, But it's really, because I'm sure like your parents are crazy stubborn as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I had one advisor made one comment about my social media profile picture. That's been like the same profile picture for like a decade or something. So it turned into a 2-day debate between godfathers, advisors, everyone from the generation above me, and this one advisor who's like currently like the top M&A attorney in the country, is like, Adi, now that you're taking this next step with your career, you need to do a profile picture like this. And that's all he said. And then there was like a full-blown analysis of every aspect of my like online presence. And I was just like, you have no idea what Pandora's box you just opened, but it's insane.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
so true. And also we have a thing where we're both child models, right? So it's
yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about when you were like, your mother would like give you the skin cream if you had acne. We would
yeah,
have to wear different designers And then we had a
Mm,
black tie event at our house every
yeah.
night in December, except up until Christmas Eve. And so every night we had like all of these like local or international leaders coming into the house, full blown black tie attire, and we'd have to go downstairs in like these perfect little outfits, shake everyone's hand, ask everyone how they're doing. We were like greeting foreign diplomats at the age of like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. We'd have to make polite conversation, round the room once to say hello to everyone. Then we'd get to go upstairs, hang out for a little bit, and then towards the end of the evening, we'd have to come back down and round the room once to say goodbye to everyone. But
I
yeah,
love
it was
that.
like and take
Yeah.
all the pictures for the PR and yeah,
No, yeah. I love that. I remember one gathering where it was like I think it was for Shiseido or something, and then they it was I was like 11 or 12, and then there was a whole room of celebrities, and my dad would give me a book and be like, get the signature of every celebrity in the room. So I'd walk up to random celebrities on these tables. I was like 12, and I'd be like, can I have her signature?
no way. That's really cute. That's very
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah, but then like, I would not be able to do this at my age. I would be so shameless, but I was like
Oh
12.
yeah.
Yeah, but it was like, as like 11, 12 years old, I did that. I was like, oh, yeah, memories. We could go on and on about this.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
the one that I've gotten used to is like people walk up and they're like, "Can we have a picture?" And I'm like, "Selfie, move on." And my friends are like, you like I'll be in conversation, someone will come up and ask for a photo, smile, pose, selfie, and then I go back to the conversation. They're like, "You do that way too fluidly." I'm like, "I have been doing this for decades." Like, just smile, meet and greet, move on. But yeah, it's I think it's weird and people outside of this bubble don't understand when like there's so much pressure about any fashion choice or PR choice that you make, because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing an entire family, and people
Yeah.
look at everything you do as a representation of the entire family, and there
Mhm.
are haters and enemies who want to take your family out, and so they look to our generation for an easy target.
Yes, yes. Because it's like my father was like, don't cry, don't show vulnerability, and on all this. It's so like I get it more and more now. Because like for me, I thought vulnerability was a strength to connect with people, but sometimes you can't be vulnerable with this, people who are, yeah, with the wrong intention. So yeah, it's I love it because I love speaking about this because it's like we understand that change is made at the top. Like if you want to make impact, if you want to make change, you have to make it at the top. Because I don't want to I feel bad saying that. I don't want to go volunteer and do whatever, clean up the ocean or do smaller things. I rather be in a position of power and then make a change for a lot of people to benefit a lot of people in a positive way. But it's always like in the climb, right? I'm always saying like the older we get, both of us, like the more how do I say power we get, and like it's important not to lose the kindness. I always say I want to be a kind and powerful person, but I don't want to lose the kindness in the way of becoming powerful. And it's very important that I keep that because it keeps me grounded, being kind and being, yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard not to have your heart hardened after being stabbed in the back so many times.
I know. Yeah, it's you get so many and so many times. It's I think it's the best thing I've learned probably this year was reading the archetype of person that will screw you over because they have like similar archetype. They're a little bit narcissistic.
Yeah.
They'll tell you wow, like all the things you can achieve. Like wow, it's great returns or great whatever, right? They'll sell you a dream, and then they'll say, yeah, it's you just know the archetype now.
The easiest way that I pull those people out, there because so it's like 1 in 6 people either have narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder.
Mm,
If they can't be wrong about anything, and if they can't admit they don't know something.
mm,
So like think about it, like when we were talking before we started recording, and you were saying, I don't know about this, so don't ask me questions about this. And I was like, that's fine. I don't know about this. And I have to admit, I don't know about that. Like, we both just proved together in 2 seconds, we don't have NPD.
Yeah.
Now, someone who has NPD would not be able to admit that they don't know something. They would rather sit there and like lie and make things up or try to make you feel bad than admit that they're imperfect in some way. So that's one of the easiest ways I found to just spot those people. A lot of them are in leadership positions. And once I realize they have NPD, I just keep my distance.
That's great. Like, it's so, yeah, it's whatever tools and techniques that you can equip each other is like.
Yeah. You don't want to go to war with them because they will obsessively try to ruin your reputation. You just want to keep like a respectful distance. So what you do with people who have NPD and BPD is as soon as they feel like they have control over you, they'll try to destroy you. As soon as they feel like they have control, because they get a high off of destroying and devaluing people. So I never put them in a position where they feel like they're in control of me or they have power over anything for me. As soon as they feel like they have that power, they try to run you into the ground because they get a high off of it. It's disgusting. But I will just, I don't give them ownership in anything. I don't let them work on projects with me. Like I told you before the call, there was that one gentleman in his 60s who was like, you have to work on this with me. You're going to get this, you're going to get that, you're going to get this. And it was like, great, send me the contract. There was no contract. There was never a contract because that would have put us as equals. So he couldn't even write the contract. Walk away. Just walk away. Thank you so much for your time. I have a lot on my plate. I'm very busy with XYZ. Let's reconvene in a couple months. And in a couple months, they've already found a new target. They're not even wanting to attack you. They're wanting to attack anyone. So you just make sure, think of like those like 15-year-old burglars in a city who go around opening every car door to see which car is unlocked. They're not looking to rob your car. They're looking for which car can easily be robbed. Make sure it's not your car.
Yeah. I get it. No, thank you for the advice because it's always helpful, right? Because I'm navigating different types. Like I say I'm really good at cultural competence because I've lived in like 7 countries, right? So I had to restart relationships and friendships. So I'm easily vulnerable. That's why I think my friends are very protective of me because I want to build real relationships wherever I move, right? Because and it's very important that I learn how to guard myself. I do, but it's you never know, right? It's like because to make change you have to be public to an extent, right? Yeah.
I've literally had to dismiss someone a couple weeks ago who it was like, oh, we're going to be friends, we're going to work on all these different things. And I was like, look, I'm sorry. And he was like really, really pushing to be included in my inner circle and all these things I'm doing this summer. I was like, I'm sorry, but I am not in a position where I can have anything less than very loyal, very protective of friends around me. I'm not in a position for anything less than that. So you've made it clear you can't do that. So we'll be surface level friends, but do not expect an exclusive invite to these parties where I have half the room trying to stab me in the back, half the room wanting to pitch me something, and 4 people actually in my corner. It's like, I have to go into those. I have to represent my family. I have to give a speech. I have to shake hands, and then I have to leave. And you've made it clear that you'll hang out with whoever's like pouring the most vodka. And I can't have someone like that walking into the room with me where I have to appear strong.
Yes. I think we talked about this as well because it's like some people have used my name to get into an event, and I'm like, I met you in a group situation 5 months ago. I don't know you.
I literally had a guy telling everyone I was his best friend at this one invite-only event in Palm Beach, and then he started trying to like shit on my reputation, and I was just like. My friends looked at him, they looked at me, and they were like, he name dropped you to get in here, and now he wants to try to discredit you? Like, that's disgusting. He was blackballed after that. As of last week, he's been blackballed with most of the most powerful families in this country, in the US. He can't get into anything. And he thought it was because like he did 1 or 2 things bad. It's like, no, you disrespected people from the wrong families.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. We don't socially climb on each other. We don't treat each other like a rung on a ladder because we know that the person there probably owns the whole building, not the ladder. Like, People are like, oh, I'm just gonna climb them as if they're rung on a ladder. I'm like, honey, they're not worried about that ladder. They own the whole freaking building. The 80,000 square foot building that you're trying to climb up to, they own it. Like,
Oh,
so you just tried to burn the wrong person. Like, yeah.
yeah. It's very it's intriguing to hear these stories, but it's just you just have to make sure it doesn't happen to your friends. And yeah, because I really, because I care about my friends so much. I don't know. It's like I grew up with friends, not family. Do you get me? Like I said, like 9 years old, I was shipped to Singapore. I went to a Canadian international school, hence my accent. I have a Canadian-ish accent, right? So all my
Yeah, I
teachers.
was wondering.
Yeah,
I was shocked that you didn't have a British accent when we met.
yeah. So they sent me when I was like 9 years old to Singapore to a Canadian international school in Singapore, not in Canada. Yeah. So like
That's
yeah.
why you know Jean-Luc.
What?
You know
No,
Jean.
no. I met Jean-Luc in a different event. I had dinner with him like the day before I met you.
No way. Oh, he's so funny. He's so funny. He like we met at an event and he immediately adopted me. And I was like, okay, cool. I've been adopted. But yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm really excited for what's gonna happen with what's gonna happen with this world in terms of wealth transfer and the new generation of wealth. And like you and I, we both speak at panels and all these um conferences, and it's sharing our message on who we are and what we can do, because even in because all the big firms like Goldman, BlackRock, they all know that we are very, very valuable.
Yeah.
The private allocation is like increasing. Like if you look at the hedge fund, like years ago, I think my friend said like 4 or 5 years ago, it was like 10%. Now it's like half the allocation is from families, for
All these statistics that I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm dying to know where you get this data from, because I just keep my head down and try to keep like
let me send you all the reports from Goldman Sachs and all this. They release like yearly family office reports and all this on the current, because they have a strong black book as well, right? Goldman, BlackRock, and they release they interview around 350, 400 families, and then they release their statistics of like whatever XYZ, right? And you get to know, oh, okay, because that's why like the wealth goes back to these firms, because they do a lot of market reports, which is very valuable, but also they also do a lot of unethical things where they have all these like next gen programs where they're pushing their vanilla products and all this. And also like us, like people like us, next gen, right? I'm sure you get this, right? We get like 6-figure salaries right out of college because they know we're next gen.
Yeah.
Because it's in their interview question. Does your family come from what, like PwC? All these, I just filled these interviews out like 7-8 years ago for fun, because I was like, oh, I'm graduating college, and then like, why is this question here? Does your family own a middle-sized company, small business? I'm like,
I never even realized that.
You should go fill out these interviews, because it's online. You go to PwC or whatever, Deloitte, and fill out these, because they'll ask you these questions. Like,
oh my god, like, okay, because I got the job managing the Apple sales channel, and people are that entire Apple sales channel in Italy, and people are like, how'd you get that? And I was like, I don't know, I did some cool projects for Apple, Porsche, Target, Disney. They were like, well, how'd you get that job? And I was like, I don't know, I just applied. But I never even thought about like the fact that I put my family name like on my application, because like now I'm married and I took my husband's name, but like I didn't even think about the fact like them seeing my last name on the application being like, yeah, she's working here. But you just blew my entire idea that I got my first job on my own out of the water.
No, because it's in their interview questions. Like,
it went over my head. I didn't even realize why they were asking that.
We don't think of it too much, because it's just like filling out, selecting an option. It's like because there's so many questions, we just want to get through it, right? But yeah.
Oh my god, that's hysterical. I did not even realize that.
But that's funny. They're smart for a reason, right? They're where they are. The big four, the big three, they're there for a reason.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And now I'm questioning, like, I have these godfathers who are CEOs of banks who are always giving me advice, and I'm like questioning their loyalty. Why are they really my godfathers? Why do they really love taking my calls and advising me on deals? But no, to your point about like the vanilla deals going on, Anton and I were at an investor. You inspired me with your happy hour, so I did one.
Oh,
And I did it real estate focused, so it would just be commercial real estate people. And I did it heavily curated. So
yeah.
like people would ask to come, and then I had to verify that they were actual investors and decision makers in real estate. So because one of the number one complaints of one of them was like, I hate going to these events being told I'll get like industry insights from someone else who's investing, and then I'm pitched marketing services or like branding expert. So I did this one, and the one guy there, he's like, well, what can your real estate fund get me that this one can't? And he pulled up his returns, and I was like, you're getting 4.3% cash, like cash returns per year. And he was like, yeah, why? And I was like, because that's atrocious. We're giving 8% to our investors. And he was like, how are you doing that? And I was like, I'm guessing they're holding multifamily in their portfolio. He was like, how'd you know? And I was like, because multifamily is literally like the dead dog that's dragging down every portfolio's performance right now. He was like, you're a young blonde. How do you know this? And I was like, I have been attending board meetings, city planning meetings, and decisions on real estate economies in the United States for almost 30 years. And he was just like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I'm from a family that's been in commercial real or investing in real estate since the early 1900s. And he's like, okay, yeah, could you send me your funds portfolio? But you have right now, you have people. And then I asked Anton later, it was like, how is it that like a company that big is only getting 4.3% cash flow? He was like, you have to keep in mind, they have a bunch of 20-year-old college kids who literally just got out of college who are analyzing deals for them. The one analyzing deals for my fund is 49. 24 years of analyzing deals. So the work that these like 20-year-olds do in like several weeks, he does that in like 1 to 2 days. I showed him, I was like, how long would it take you to underwrite this deal? And someone had told me like, oh, it would take 3 months to get all that data. And I showed it to him. He's like, well, I plug it into this model and I'd have the basic information within 3 days. It was like, wow. Yeah. And so then I asked Anton, he's like, that's why like you have our boutique funds that are getting these 8% pref, whereas the gigantic conglomerates that have a bunch of 20-year-olds making financial decisions with the money for the ultra rich, they're only getting 4% preferred return. Yeah. Sorry, I could ramble on about that all day.
Yeah, no, I get it, because I understand the fund space very well, and it's like families are moving away from funds unless there's a strategic, sense of, because like you said, you do real estate, you understand real estate, right? Like with the families I work with, right? Like 80% of a family's allocation is based on where they built their wealth. Right, like if you build their wealth in real estate, a chunk of it will be there. But there's a 15-20% diversification. Sometimes not even that. Where they want to.
That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do. People are like, "Oh, what do you think of investing in biotech in Indonesia?" And I'm like, I would put a maximum of like 5% into that. Like, I would. It's not something I understand. It's not something I'm going to invest in. But yeah, the other thing with funds today is you have too many funds where like they get comfortable doing the bare minimum. And they have like, they don't worry about family honor. They don't worry about family legacy. They're like, look, I have a nice car, a nice house, nice vacations. Why would I try harder? Like, they're not obsessed with like proving to themselves and others that they can outperform the market. Whereas I feel like you and I, like, because our parents were so strict with us growing up, I had the reverse. My parents were super strict with me, not strict at all with my brother. So my parents were super strict. It was like, yeah, mine were too. Like they were so strict with me. And then my brother like got away with everything. But yeah, so it's like baked into you from a young age if you're going to be performance driven. And it's like, do I need to outperform the market? Do I need to work so hard to outperform the market? No. Do I want to? Yes. Do I want to be able to go in to this room with all of these guys in their 60s with gray hair who are looking down their nose at me and be like, by the way, my real estate portfolio did doubles what yours did this year. Yes. I love doing that.
It's really
So let's get back to this. You have what what frameworks or decision-making models do you use when advising clients on cross-border investments, especially in unfamiliar markets?
So in so emerging markets, right? So basically, like it's hard to do due diligence on emerging markets, right? It's just like you talked about the Indonesia biotech thing, right? How do you do due diligence on that, right? It's
Yeah,
easier to do due diligence in first world countries, right? Like UK,
yeah,
China, Japan, right? Easy. But in other countries, it's a bit harder, right? So it's finding that. That's why, like when you want to go into those, like people tend to go in with the big firms, right? Well, like or you have like a specific local partner where that will do due diligence and everything for you, because like if you look at the trend, right, like the first wave of VC in India, everyone got screwed over, right? Everyone got, and now the second wave, they say it's good. I think it is, but you're never really sure, right? But India is a what India has over 1 billion people, right? So it's like that there's a lot of VC funds there who are like, oh, the returns will be like what 25-30% IRR, which is but it's making sure that when you're going into those ones, you're with the right partner that will do due diligence, because like if you look at like this year's statistics from what I've read, like there's I think like a 3 to 4% increase in deployment into developed markets, so like America, so it's like it's going because people are, I think, preparing back to succession, right? Families are preparing back for succession, and they want to
yeah.
make sure that because it's a very, with AI growing rapidly, it's unstable right now, so it's better to just be like sit and watch, and then like think where you deploy, because if you look at the yearly statistics, like family offices are doing, I think, around 11-12% IRR, like, but they're aiming around 20%. Like families want to get like 20% returns on all this, but that's because next gen is starting to take over. Next gen is starting to like take the reins of the investments, but but the reality, it's still like they're doing 11% right around. So it's figuring out when you're deploying who you're partnering up with. Have you worked with them long term? And then like it's like, do you have expertise in the market you're going to invest in? So like if like there's some, like you're in real estate, so there's similar things that apply in different regions of real estate, right? Like so if you're going to deploy in the UK, like even though the situation might be different, there's things that you can understand with real estate that you can at least grasp. So if you are going to deploy in UK real estate, for example, you'd be able to have at least some base ground knowledge before you think about doing it, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so like that. It's like, do what you know if you're going to deploy in emerging markets. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. No, it makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
rambled on a little, but
no, no, not at all. No, I think it's really great to know, because you've lived in 7 countries. It's good to know exactly how you're spotting opportunities in emerging markets, because there's a lot of growth potential there.
oh, definitely. Like if you look at the tax structures and stuff, right? Like in like if you look at Hong Kong, like I think there was an article that was published. I think 146 family offices started their operations in Hong Kong. I don't know the exact amount, but I can send you the article. Like started based in Hong Kong, and I'm like, what is this? Like what's with Hong Kong? Like I never lived in Hong Kong, but Hong Kong has to have something, right? And also in Singapore, you can start a family office for 20 million, which is nothing. Like it's not a proper family office. 20 million, but like it's the
Yeah.
structure because they want to attract inward investment, right? So all these countries have their different types of structure to attract family offices and capital. But and families from the West are going to Hong Kong and Singapore. They're fighting over it because there is a lot of opportunity in Asia. Like just one, I'll tell you one statistic alone. So like a professional with the same level of education, same amount, whatever education, maybe they're lacking English. Like you would get that for 1/4, 1/5 the price in Asia. Just say a software developer is $100 here. You would get the same level of talent for $20 in Asia or $30. So just that one statistic alone, because education is getting more, global, right? Like there's internet now, so people are getting more access to education. They might not have the same level of competency in terms of English, but in
Mhm.
terms of labor cost, Asia is you can't beat Asia in labor cost. because you can get the same level of talent for like what a fourth, a fifth of the price. So just this is what I can tell you. This is why there's a drawing to like emerging markets, but still it's still instability because every market, right, there's corruption and all this government everything going on, right? You can't control that, but the opportunity is there, but you have to do it the right way with the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. No, that's you hit the nail on the head, because I know there have been quite a few times where friends have looked at investing in an emerging market, but then like they'll lose their shirt because they
Yes.
lose everything they put in there because the money just goes to a bunch of like into a bunch of corrupt pockets.
Yeah, it's so this is why the banks pitch these, because like it's safer if you go with like
The
a big
vanilla.
investment. Yeah, the vanilla
Yeah.
thing, right? And it's like we lose either way.
Yeah, and I've had some people telling me, they're like, "Oh, but I can get much better investment or returns on my investment if I invest in such and such a country." I'm like, "Are you confident that you're going to get your money, even get your money back, let alone those returns if you invest in that country?" Like, that's one of the reasons people love the US real estate market. Even if we don't get the same returns as like these emerging markets and these rapidly growing economies, the government regulates everything so strongly here that it's
The
just it's a
UK.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a safe bet. It's a safe bet.
yeah.
So I think we already answered this question. As a second generation advisor, how are you approaching intergenerational wealth transfer differently than traditional models?
Like
You're going out and looking for your own deals rather than just trusting the plain vanilla deal pitched to you by big banks.
that's number one, and I have lived in experience. So it's like we speak the same language, so I know how to speak the language of the next gen. So what they like,
Yeah.
what's what like what type of impact they like to make. So it's just I speak their same language, and I go at it in a way where it's not just returns, but it's just what is the impact and what is the scalability of this project, right? And yeah, it's you treat it with care, and it's like it's like for one of someone told me it's like it's hard to explain big concepts like for example charisma or love, right? It's like be charismatic, be loving, right? But charisma can be standing up straight, speaking with tonality, speaking with pitch, like smiling when you walk in the room. That's charisma. Love is like maybe taking out the trash or cooking a meal or saying I love you. It's like explaining these concepts. For me, I say I have really high EQ and I'm a great communicator. I really am, because I treat it as if it's my money when I speak to next gen and family offices. So like when
Not
I
even
advise
your
them,
money,
yeah,
it's your credibility.
yes, yes,
So people
yes,
are like, "Oh, it's someone else's money," and it's like it's your credibility next to their money. So, and your credibility, like you can't buy credibility, you can't buy trust, you can't buy honor, you can't buy a reputation. So, when you're managing someone else's money, there's more on the line for you because you're risking something that can't be bought.
yes, completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, how I go about it is like I tell them I don't know anything, but I know people who will give me the right advice to give you some options. Because I never tell my client people one option. I give them here are a few options, like choose which one you think would be best. I think that's the best way to go about it when I advise people, because it's always good when being an advisor to be like, okay, here are a few options. You pick which one. I'll say which one I like, but like it's like in terms of investments or whatever service they want to use. Yeah, because it's
No, there is strength in being able to spot good deals. I'll have people pitch me different real estate things, and my friends literally just want to watch my face and my nonverbal reactions to the pitch before they figure out if they can trust that person pitching that deal. Like,
yes,
there was someone trying to pitch me a debt fund last week, and they're like, "This is a great debt fund for your investors. It'll be amazing. This, that, and the other thing." So I said, "Okay, I want you to pitch it to my godfather, the CEO of a bank.
yeah,
He used to be the president of an international, a region of banks." So I was like, "Okay, pitch it to him." The entire pitch, I wasn't watching the guy pitching. I was watching my godfather's reaction to the pitch to decide if I should trust this guy. So there's a lot of value in just being able to, like, just being able to spot what are the good deals because of your industry expertise,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing when you see something special though, right? Like a deal that's like, oh wow, like when you've seen so many and you see a good one, you wanna, yeah. Because it's like, it's treasure hunting. It's yeah.
It is. It is. So looking ahead to succession, what crucial mindset or operational shifts do you believe family offices must make to thrive beyond the founder generation?
I think a lot of family offices are doing this now, but they're investing in technology and a base platform so that they have more transparency and communication between intergenerations. Because it's like
Yeah,
if you have a good platform and a base, it just makes things more clear. I think every family should have that so that because you need that now because the
yeah,
next generation of talent, the next generation of this will be using this. So it's like you should invest in that so that there's clarity in what you want to do and what they want to do, and there's so many tools to help us now. It's now utilizing it. Like people who don't use it will fall behind. That's just the truth.
yeah. We had some when I first started getting into my parents' businesses, people would ask me, they were like, what do you do? And it was like, well, I get on a plane and I fly to where my parents tell me I need to fly to. And then I meet with people to look at something like a building or whatever. And I usually find out what our involvement is somewhere halfway through the meeting. Like, and someone was like, oh, you were involved in the acquisition and redevelopment of this building. And I was like, yep. And he's like, so what is that building doing now? And like, it was sold like 15, 20 years ago. And I was like, why would I know about a building that we no longer, like, we ceased to hold possession of 20 years ago? Like, but yeah, no, I see that. I see that. Yeah. So, what are some tools and tactics that you're using to manage your time, your team, your family office endeavors?
So I always focus on the people I need to prioritize. Because there's some people that will move the needle and there's people who won't move the needle. It's like,
Yeah.
who do I call that will actually move the needle? Because we are in management positions. So we're in positions where we're delegating and we're doing tasks. Like, because there's things that we have to do on our own, like contracts and stuff that like we know how to regulate ourselves, but it's also important how to regulate how you allocate time to other people. And,
Okay.
and for me, I know who is going to move the needle for me for each specific project or fund or allocation that I'm looking to do. So
Okay.
I think that's number one,
Mhm.
the people, and then also get enough sleep.
Oh my
Get
gosh.
enough sleep. I'm always like I'm always trying to like fix it and then I mess it up again and I fix it. Like have a good sleep schedule. Like obviously it's getting enough sleep, and then mm, and then obviously having a good intake of um like updated market knowledge, because I don't like because like we're in the weed of things, we're doing deals, we're learning through working, but it's also important to just like step back and look at what's happening in the world, because like I try not to look at what's happening in my country because I can't do anything about it. I try not to look at a lot of things, right? But like sometimes it's good to step back and be like, what information I want to gain, whether it's in terms of psychology or whatever, because there's like little things like like a stupid thing I learned was like, if you hug someone you love for 20 seconds, it will reset. Like it will reset whatever anger, and then you just fight again or whatever, right? Like yeah, whatever it is, right? It's little tricks and tips, right? Because like whatever I love psychology, so this is what I do, right? It's like take time off to just engage in new forms of knowledge, because it's like well like going back to diversity, 80% is what you do, that's your bread and butter, but 20% you try to learn from new markets, because that's gonna help you with disruptive growth, you
Yeah.
know yeah
Yeah.
yeah
Absolutely. Um, no, I have someone who every day he scrapes all of the news sources and then he sends me an email with market data, taking all the emotional bits out of it. just giving me the financial market data.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I don't have to like torture myself and poison my brain with all of the like crazy like anti-Semitic things going on, and these people being bombed and these people being shot at and all those sorts of things. Like he filters all of that out for me, because like getting emotional during the workday when I'm supposed to be focused on financial decisions doesn't help me to perform. It's like, here's all the financial information, focus on this, make your intelligent decisions, and then that's it. And that's huge. I can give you his email address after this so that you can get on his email list. But he only does it for the US markets. He
Oh,
doesn't do it
that's fine. It's we help each other, right? It's like you it's like building blocks, right? Like you're a fifth generator. It's like, it's like I really believe that you work with like the same 7 or 8 people over and over again. And so you build that team really strong. And like for me, I'm 30, right? I'm turning 30 next month. Oh my God. So it's like, I'm trying to build that, that core team. And, I have my family's core team, but it's building that international core team of people you regularly work with, you trust, that have your back. And then you slowly grow this, because it's, at the end of the day, it's, you have to enjoy the journey. And yeah.
The other thing is, like, right now I was speaking with a friend and she was like, well, how do you build out your black book? And it was like, well, I take my family's contacts, but then I also build out my own, so that if anyone else in my family were to try to take some sort of business from me, they can't, because half of the contacts helping that business to run are my individual contacts. So there's no fighting. Like if I'm taking over a business from one of my parents, I'm not just taking over the business with all of their contacts. I'm bringing in and making half of the content, client list, investor list, whatever, making half of it mine. So that there's no, like a sibling or a cousin can't come in and say, oh, well, this business is a family business. It was built off of our grandfather, so we should all share it. Well, no, I rebuilt the business, and 50% of our clients or 50% of our deal flow or 50% of our investors are people I brought in. So unless you're going to double our client list or investor base or whatever with people that you're bringing in, this is my company. I built it into something completely different. So what you're doing right now, where you're traveling from country to country and building out your own strategic alliances and your own strategic partners, that's brilliant. That's what you have to do to be the next generation that takes over a business. Because people who don't do that and they just take the family business and run the family business and they don't expand it at all, they end up having battles with the cousin or the sibling who did nothing to help grow it, but suddenly comes in 20 years down the road and says, hey, all you've done is been a steward of this business. You haven't expanded it in any way. And I want 50% now because we have the same last name. And that's where you see like those dramatic battles that end up tanking, like, or family office empires, because they have like a sibling fight rather than someone coming in and saying, I'm going to take I'm going to build it out into my own thing, expand it, and they take full ownership. So I think what you're doing it's brilliant. It was hard to get to where you are today, but you did it.
I appreciate it so much, and you did it too. It's like I think we're exactly like what 9-10 years apart, and it's like you have a family, you're on the way for succession, you're doing your deal. It's so like, I love seeing people's journeys, and it's beautiful because you have different phases in life, and you learn from each phase and each person, and it's like. You get to write your own story, and I think it's a privilege to be able to write your own story in terms of like how you want to make an impact in this world, and I'm grateful that you are part of my network and you're a friend, and this is what matters, like friendship first, right? Like and then we can build off it, because it's just being surrounded by good people, because it's very, like, it's harder to find the older you get, right? Because it's like you always be meeting a lot of people, and a lot of people will be pitching to you all these things, saying they want to be your friend, but it's just like it's easier to trust when you have similar stories and similar backgrounds. We're both child models.
Yeah. The rule I had for our fund, because our fund it's invite only.
Yeah.
And some people were like, well, why can't I invest? And it was like, you didn't pass the dinner test. And they were like, what's the dinner test? And it was like, you were a nightmare to have dinner with. I would not want to have dinner with you once a month. Like, I'm not going to travel. If I'm not willing to travel to a foreign country to have an investor dinner or lunch or meet up at an art gallery or something, I don't want to have to be managing your money for you and meeting with you once a month. Like that. That'll just tank productivity because I will always be dreading our next meeting. No, it's definitely been a pleasure to get to know you and what you're doing. And I see like a lot of amazing opportunities where you're doing something that I can replicate here, and I'm doing something that you can replicate there, or we can collaborate. And there's a lot of opportunities for synergies.
Definitely, and anything you need help with, or your audience, right? It's like if you come, because like right now, I'm sure a lot of people reach out to you as well to me. It's just if someone you care about needs help, it just we help people, because I think the best connections are made through like referrals, and because you just trust
Warm
it more.
referrals. Yeah. Like
warm
this show you only get on if you're a warm referral.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful, that I'm a part of your network and your journey as well, because in 5 years and 10 years we'll have another conversation. We're like, what is this?
No, I'm sure we'll see each other before that. I'm sure we'll see each other.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other. And yeah, and if you're in this side of the pond, like I'm here in the UK. And
yeah. All right. So yeah, I'll see you in Europe sometime.
Yeah, I'll see you in Europe. But thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good one. Take care. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Bye.
Bye-bye.